The punt return is one of the coolest plays in football, and while some punt returns live on a level of fame that's hard to describe, like my personal favorite where Arkansas's punt returner did like all of this. Look at his freeze frame. The guy scores on this play. Are you kidding me? But today, we are looking through the rarest types of punt returns. But first, if you are like me, you love cracking packs. I mean, I've done it all from Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and some football pack. And I even have some ungraded cards that I absolutely love. Like the Stonehouse Special Edition back-to-back record-breaking season card, a dual threat Tom Brady punting card, Marquette King running for a first down, and a couple others. But if you want to relive that memory, you came to the right place, because there's nothing like busting open a pack and the excitement of what you could get inside, which is why I'm happy to present today's sponsor, Arena Club. Arena Club offers slab packs that you can score gem mints in for a fraction of the retail price, and every time you rip a pack, Arena Club will make you an instant offer for your card based on its current market value. No guessing, no waiting, and no getting lowballed, because you're automatically getting 90% of its estimated value. And while some may be skeptical of the repack game, Arena Club is revolutionizing it with its transparency, showing you a total list of every available card and clear hit rates for each one. On top of all of that, each different pack type has a grail card, so you always have something to aim for, such as a Michael Jordan Fleer Beckett, a Panini Prism Kobe Bryant Black Gold, or Tom Brady National Treasures. So if you miss the feeling of cracking packs, go get a slab pack today. Use code PUNT to get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase. That's a full 20% off using code PUNT. So check it out. Crack a pack, relive a little bit of your childhood, crack responsibly. Thank me later. And the first type of rare return is, I'm going to call it the bait return. And this is pulled off when a punter has a tendency to punt a particular direction. The return team says, okay, we are going to set the returner up to go the opposite direction. And a corner who's covering the gunner on that side of the field is going to run up and catch the punt where it's actually going to be, with the concept being that everybody's going to peel off to cover the returner, leaving this poor punter who is forced to watch all of this unfold, fend for themselves, and probably fail. Since this requires so many moving parts to pull off, you would think that it would be too hard to do in a game. But the first time it was pulled off was in 2011, Bears versus Packers. Obviously, when your returner is Devin Hester, you know the opposing team is going to overcommit to try to stop him from setting up a return, which sets this play up beautifully, as Masday like to punt left in this situation, so the gunner runs up, grabs it, takes it all the way back, even though it gets called back for a dubious holding call. But fret not, because just last season, the Bears would get their comeuppance in the second punt of the game against the Packers. Daniel Whelan likes an end-over-end punt from the plus side of the field. It's giving shades of 2011, so what do they do but go back in their bag, call the same play, and catch the punt and take it 94 yards and a touchdown in a game where they'd win by less than a touchdown, so it was absolutely needed. This also got called in a Seahawks-Rams game where we're going to see a very rare recurring character, which is John Fassel, one of the trickiest coordinators, who knew that Seahawks punter John Ryan's tendency in this situation was to hit the end-over-end ball left. He decides to pull the trigger on this fake play, and it absolutely pays off, as they were 90 yards and another touchdown. It also reared its head again in a big rivalry game against the USC Trojans, as they're taking on the UCLA Bruins, and on a beautiful punt to the right, they decide to have the returner fake like the ball is landing in the middle of the field, leaving the corner to catch it just inches from the sideline and walk a tightrope for 72 yards and another touchdown with, guess what, there's even more of these, but football is a very old game, there's lots of punt returns happening. But Colts, Cardinals, Christmas Day, the game is going on. They know that the Colts punter Rigoberto Sanchez loves to hit the end-over-end ball to the left, so they dial up the play and take it back for 48 yards, with only one instance being left, which is NC State taking on Florida State. And friend of the channel, Shane McDonough, is actually the one punting this one. He hits a beautiful 57-yard punt, would have been over the returner's head. Unfortunately, the returner is fading to the returner's right while that ball is going to the left, leaving a lone corner to pick it up and take it back 52 yards. And yes, this was the same game that Florida State punter Alex Mastromano ran past the line of scrimmage before punting it, but that's aside the point, because that means that this play on average got you 73 return yards and scored a touchdown 2 out of every 3 times, with the shortest return in all of this being for 42 yards, making it not only just a rare return, but an extremely effective one. The next rarest type of punt return is the know the rules return, and that's when pretty much everybody else thinks the ball is dead for a reason or another, except the returner, who will then pick it up and run away with it. An example of this, Memphis taking on Mississippi State. The ball is punted, batted back from being in the end zone and downed again by another player, where everybody is happy except the returner, who's like, hey, that's a live ball. So he picks it up and trots it into the end zone for a 93-yard score. Another example is Broncos taking on the Raiders, and there's a great punt, great save, and my favorite part is when the coverage player, who's the last Bronco to touch it, just pushes it out of the way of the end zone so smugly and right into the hands of Rarest, who picks it up and takes it 99 yards for a touchdown. There's also another case of this, as in the Bears-Panthers game, where a punt actually bounces off the back of a coverage player who's committing an egregious kick-catch interference penalty, and while most are scrambling around trying to get on the ball, a Panthers player sees it squirts out and goes, hey, I can do something with that, and takes it 79 yards for a touchdown. But by and far, the best example, maybe the most famous one, is way back in the day, Saints taking on the Rams, and the ball is kicked directly into the end zone. Now, I believe by today's rule, that ball would be dead, but that wasn't the case back then. Since no one else was downing it, Robert Bailey is like, well, I guess I'll do it myself, as he takes it and runs it 103 yards to the other end zone to down it, with the Saints punter famously taking off his helmet in the middle of the return because he simply did not even realize that the return was happening. And even though it was not a punt return, I would be remiss to not include when Georgia blocked a field goal and everybody was just standing around, but one Georgia player looked to his sideline, looked to the other sideline, stood over the ball wondering if it was live, and it was. So he picked it up and ran it in for probably one of the easiest looking touchdowns you're ever going to see. Okay, so the next one that we have is the pitch back return. This is similar to the bait return, but this type of return is more common on kickoffs, but it does happen very rarely on punts. And it's similar to the bait return, but the returner is still going to be the one initially receiving it. This time though, as the coverage team collapses down on him, he is going to then turn and throw the ball to the corner which peeled off to set up the return going the opposite direction. And while this can result in a disaster, like when the Colts tried it against the 49ers, that's almost enough to make any coach go, huh, let's put this one back on the chalkboard. But Rutgers pulled it off against Ohio State, where it worked beautifully, as they were able to cut the lead to just 20 points in the fourth quarter, which, as a bit of fun fact, was the second time that Rutgers did a pitchback, as I tried it again on a kickoff return earlier that game, where once again that's a more common place to see it. But in the NFL, this has worked exactly one other time in modern history, and that's when John Fassel, yes, you know him, you love him, is now with the Cowboys, and he dials it up where it works so well that even after bobbling the catch, they were still able to pick up 81 yards on the return, even though it did end up with a block in the back, and the guy who got blocked in the back literally throws his back into the guy blocking him, but it is what it is. But this leads us to the last, rarest, and the only return that is now currently banned, and that is the fake fair catch. Now, the most famous incident of this is when North Texas was taking on Arkansas, and the returner in his testes of steel decides to catch it after having his hand up to block out the sun, using his cool demeanor to fool the Arkansas coverage unit into thinking that he was actually calling for a fair catch, only to learn that they had been fooled, as he takes it 90 yards in just a beautiful fashion. But if you thought that was the only fake fair catch, boy howdy do I have news for you. Let me take you to FCS powerhouse Merrimack College, who is about to receive the punt when he boldly catches it and doesn't move like he's trying to hide from a T-Rex, and it absolutely works. The moment of hesitation is all that he needs to blow past the coverage crew for a touchdown. But like I alluded to, they have gone way out of their way to make sure they ban anything that looks like a fair catch, with the ramifications of this being felt when Cooper DeJean infamously returned what should have been a game-winning punt return touchdown for the Hawkeyes, but it was called back because of an illegal fair catch, which is a ruling that they have been tightening up since that North Texas game to make sure that cool plays like this no longer happen. Just kidding, it's really for the safety of returners so people don't hit them when they think they might be trying to fake fair catch it.
And that's when I looked away when he stopped still.